I would like to call to order the Winthrop School Committee on September 6th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We are meeting in the Neil Shapiro Center for Performing Arts at the Winthrop High School, 400 Main Street. This meeting is being recorded. May I have the roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Swope?
Yep.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Martucci, can you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Seeing that we have no visitors or delegates tonight, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes of August 22nd, 2022.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Ms. Swope. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Abstain.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve warrant SVW 23-3 in the amount of $237,713.70?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Martucci, second by Mr. Lettieri. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve payroll warrant SPW 24-04 in the amount of $264,354.46?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Petrie. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Abstain.
Mr. Matucci?
Abstain.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Did I get this one?
Oh, there's two.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve payroll warrant SPW 23-03 in the amount of $124,991.09?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Petrie, second by Ms. Swope. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Abstain.
Mr. Matucci?
Abstain.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. And we have no budget transfers tonight? Okay. Buildings and grounds. We have a request for the use of the William P. Gorman Court Banks by the PTO for an ice cream social. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I'm sorry, was that Mr. Martucci? Motion? Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Ms. Petrie. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion for the Winthrop Youth Football for the youth football games?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Mr. Martucci. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Okay, we have no subcommittee reports tonight. May I have the superintendent's report, please?
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the new school year. We had an awesome opening. We have not met since the last time we met was before school opened. So just a few updates, and Laurie Galvin is also going to give a few updates that were left over from our last meeting. So our new teachers participated in their orientation. They were provided with their new teacher and mentor handbooks. They reviewed their protocols. They looked at the 2-year induction program requirements. They met with administration and other staff, received technology, tech support, visited their schools, completed their onboarding paperwork. They had to endure me for a few minutes talking about sort of some of the top 10 things that I wish someone told me when I first became a teacher. And it was great. It was great to see new teachers invigorated and new to the system, introducing themselves to each other and meeting all of our principals and our tech staff and our HR staff. So that went very well. On the 29th and the 30th, the staff arrived and participated in their school buildings this year, maximizing their time within their buildings. They went through an enhanced mandated workshops that we have in place now, which are part of your employment different trainings that we have, 504 trainings, filing 51A, ethics trainings, probably about 20 different trainings that each teacher needs to go through. So there was some time for them to do that, which was beneficial because there were questions. It's a much, I think I talked about it at the last meeting, much more friendly, interactive process, so it's not simply flipping through PowerPoint presentations and getting to the end and checking off that you read it. The nice thing about it is it's on the ArcSed platform, and that allows us in real time to be able to make sure that all of the teachers, including those folks that are hired along the way, have completed those trainings. We do get audited by the Department of Education, and they ask us to provide them with documentation. So this new platform allows for that documentation to happen and keeps it in a portal where we can access it easily. Saves time on administration, having to dig through those papers. We're also saving trees because we're not printing a lot. We're able to keep it in a spreadsheet that allows us to have easy access to do that. One training that is coming during the month of September is the ALICE training. That's the active shooter training in the event that there is a violent event in a school district or a school shooter. All of our staff that works in our buildings will be trained. Again, with that particular training, it's been upgraded and looks a little bit different than it did in the years past. This is our third or fourth year, I believe, fourth year, of having all of our staff ALICE certified. We work closely with the Winthrop Police Department as well, so that they can do our lockdowns within the schools, train our staff how to do lockdowns so our staff can then work with our students to teach them how to pay attention and listen when we have something going on in the school, whether it's a hold in place or a lockdown, or in worst case scenario, if there was an intruder in our building. So that training for the ALICE certification has multiple dates during the month of September for staff only. Update on enrollment. We have 1,958 students. So that's an increase from last year. It is steadily increasing. Each day we're finding that we're enrolling a few students a day, some days more than others. Secretaries have been wonderful and patient. Sometimes we don't know that a student is enrolling until somebody arrives at the door and is looking to find out how they can enroll their student. So that has been ongoing. At the Gorman Fort Banks, we have 494 students. That's pre-K through 2. The Cummings School, grades 3 to 5, 426 students. The middle school, 6, 7, and 8, 426 students. And the high school, 9 through 12, 597 students. And at the present time, we have 15 out-of-district students attending either a collaborative or a private special education day school or a residential school. Of the students in our high school, of the 597 students, we have 15 international students. They are enrolled at Winthrop High School through our partnership with Educations. So it's an agency that brings us applications for students from other countries and asks us if those students can participate either for a semester, or half a school year, or a full school year. And we have students attending primarily from Italy, which is interesting. That's our largest population. But we also have students from France, Norway, Brazil, and Spain. Those students pay to attend this school through Educations, and Educations pays the school district a fee of $15,000 per year, or half of that if the student is only attending for a semester. Most of our international students stay the full year. That money, as we collect it, is used to offset portions of a few different salaries, and they're salaries that are directly related to our international students, guidance counseling, and there are a few others. I'll have to get back to you on who they are, but guidance counseling and a portion of a teacher who acts as a liaison for those students. For staffing, we still have open positions in the following areas: crossing guards. If there are any crossing guards out there, you can call. I'll give you the number at the end to call, and we'll direct you in the right place. ESPs, which are our educational support personnel, the classroom aides. We are still seeking a special education teacher at the high school, a payroll clerk at the central office, substitute teachers at every grade level, and cafeteria staff substitutes at every grade level. So if there's anyone who's interested, you can call the main school number, 617-846-5500, and you can leave us a message and we'll get back to you and give you direction about which principal that you can speak to if you're interested in any of those positions. Safety and security update. All the inspections by the fire and police have been completed, and the draft results have been shared with the principals. All the items that have been noted will be reviewed with the principals. We've created action steps that we will then share with both chiefs, and an action plan that the principals will review monthly and update the fire and police chief about any of the changes that we have made. So in those reports, there are recommendations, and then there are must-dos, things that we definitely have to do. Those rise to the very top of the list, and the fire chief and police chief stay in close contact with the principal, who then stays in close contact with myself to talk about funding mechanisms for some of those items. There were few that were mandated, and there's always recommendations, and we push for that and ask the police and fire chief to give us their honest opinion on things that we can change and enhance. Just an idea of something that might come up walking through a classroom. If there is a rug on the floor in the classroom, the fire chief will pick that rug up and roll it over to ensure that it meets the standards for flammability or non-flammability, and if it doesn't, we are told to remove those. Other things, locks on doors. If there are broken locks, they go through the entire building. They look at our inspection stickers for the elevators. They look at fire extinguishers. They look at exits. They look at lights, and they certainly look at cameras. So an update as well on the cameras. Our cameras have been updated in each school building. Some of our cameras are somewhat newer, but many of them were older and beginning to outlive their life. We have worked closely with safety grant money that we have, as well as some other grant funding that we have, to make sure that all of those cameras are not only working, but working and tied to the places they need to be, which I say that cryptically because it wouldn't be safe if we told you who could view all of those cameras or where those cameras were. So that is something that is not on the list of things that need to be corrected, with the exception of some items that we're still in the process of fixing. Our Raptor machines, which are the scanning machines that you have to scan your license in order to come into the building. We had a couple of those that were down, and those are being either fixed or replaced. Mandatory fire drills are also being scheduled in all of the buildings. Those fire drills are definitely mandatory, but they come with a lot of work. Each time we do a fire drill, we have to account for how fast we got out of the building, how many students there were in the building, what the weather conditions were, when the fire department got there and when they left. And that information needs to be submitted to the state. So the principals are very familiar with keeping that data for us and scheduling those fire drills in an appropriate manner. Update on negotiations. We continue to move forward, I believe, in a positive direction with our negotiations. Since our last school committee meeting, we've had 2 additional sessions with the teachers. We had one on August 25th and one on September 1st, and we had 1 additional session on August 31st with the ESPs. We have dates for additional meetings as follows. We are meeting with the Teachers Bargaining Subcommittee again on September 14th, and we have the 21st on the calendar as well. Secretary Bargaining Unit on September 22nd. ESP Bargaining Unit on the 28th. And again on October 5th, if that would be necessary. And we are working out a date for the Nurses Bargaining Unit at the beginning of October. A quick update on athletics. The fall season is underway. We have 250 athletes participating. I just had the opportunity to poke my head in and watch the cheerleaders practicing, and I don't know how they do what they do, bend the way they bend, flip the way they flip, but they're doing it. I also had the opportunity to see their new uniforms, and they're very, very up-to-date and very athletic looking, but also cheerleader and classy looking. So they're all excited about that. They were working on their routine with their coaches as well as the volunteer coaches who work with them. But the bus update, so sort of busing has been something that I walked into here in the school district, and as everybody knows, we do not have busing for all students in the Winthrop Public Schools, but we do provide busing as mandated by state law to students who live beyond 2 miles from the front door of their house to the front door of the school building. We spend a lot of time looking at those students. We've had a lot of new students move in this year. It's primarily students that live at the end of the point, for those of you who understand how the town is spread out. As of today, we have 20 students who have registered for transportation down the point. We pick up in front of the PSA hall. One of our former custodians, and who has worked here for well over 30 years, Skip Calley, is our bus driver. Takes a lot of pride in his bus. Might be the cleanest bus that you've seen in town, both inside and out. He will begin his route, we hope, next week, either Monday or Tuesday of next week. The school times, because of the way the schools work, because we have students are eligible in kindergarten through 6th grade, so we run typically 3 runs back and forth to and from the point. So we go to the Fort Bank School for kindergarten, then we have to go back and pick up 1st and 2nd graders and bring them back to the Fort Banks, then go back and pick up students in grades 2 through 6, bring them to the Cumming School and to the middle school, and then we turn around again and do that if it's a half day in the middle of the day or if it's a full day at the end of the day. So we've reached out to all those parents. They were to get back to us by 5 o'clock Monday evening. We've heard from most of them and did a little bit of reach out, given that it was a holiday weekend, just to get that final bus schedule down. We also received our S7 cards today, so back, I think about 4, maybe 5 years now, we applied for student passes through the MBTA. So we fill out all kinds of paperwork, and they send us passes for students in middle and high school. So if you're 11 years old or younger, you can ride the MBTA for free as long as you have an adult with you, which most students under 11 would likely have an adult with them. But if you're in the middle school or a high school student, you are allowed to get a pass. And what the pass does is it takes the cost of riding the 712 and the 713 bus from, I believe, it's $1.70 each way. It drops it down to 85 cents. Parents can load those cards, so the students go to the guidance counselor in either the middle school or the high school, and they're assigned an S card, an S7 card, and parents then go online and purchase the money to load to that card. And it's a pretty significant discount for those students. So parents, our parents are pretty savvy with that. Many of them know about it, but the principals are making sure to reach out to parents, so those are available already in our school guidance office. And then one last quick update from me, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Gallivan. Just a review of our entitlement grants and what those grants have come in at this year. So the 262 Early Childhood Special Ed entitlement grant came in around about the same amount of money we had last year, $24,000. The 240 grant, which is our largest special education grant, it's an entitlement grant based on the number of special needs students that we have. That is $604,794. And then the title grants, which used to be 1, and now there's 4. So Title 1 is $406,154. Title 2, which is supporting effective instruction. Title 2, Part A, $57,778. The Title 3 grant, which is the English Language Acquisition and Academic Achievement Program for English language learners and immigrant children and youth, is $26,153. We were hoping that that would be $226,000 because of the number of students that we have that are in need, but that is the amount we received. And Title IV, which is an academic enrichment, came in at $29,517. Most of those grants are a little bit lower than they were last year. Those are set by the state and federal government. And I can tell you with a surety that if it's not instructional supplies that is purchased out of some of those lower numbered grants, the Title I and the 240 grant, which are the two larger grants, the 240 being 600,000 change and the Title I being 406, they are about 85% salaries in the school district. So you hear those large amounts of money and you wonder, gee, what are they doing with that money? the majority of them are paying teacher salaries for the students that we have here in the school. So I just thought I'd give you that brief update. Ms. Galvin's going to talk about the policy program through the MASC that we talked about last week. We had some questions about the cost of that program, and she's also going to give you a little bit of an update on something that I clearly dismantled in the last meeting, which is the Satchel Plus program that I definitely spoke, out of turn a little bit in it, but Laurie can clear that up.
Okay, thank you. So, in clarifying the questions around the MASC policy review, that cost of that program is $10,500. They literally take a copy of our policy book. They go through it all first. They go through it and they determine which policies are no longer necessary, which ones you have missing, which ones are just totally out of date, and then they offer to you both their policies and an opportunity to look at some of the other districts online to see what their policies are in place for your adoption. So my understanding is you'll be able to do it in large chunks. So if it's policies on governance, you could do them all like in larger groups. So they go through everything first. They meet with some or all of you, some school administration, depending on what the policies are, some principals, and help kind of weed through all of our policies, make sure they're up to date. And then once that process is done, and that can take anywhere from 1 year to 2 years to 3 years. So it's at the pace that the district is willing to work at it. So they're not trying to put a burden on you to say you have to finish it this year or something. If that works for meeting times, great. But the cost is $10,500. That breakdown that you saw last time that Superintendent Howard put out was just that they will allow you to pay over a 3-year period should you choose to. That's what the 3 breakdowns of $3,500 was. Once everything is done and you've decided on, a full updated policy manual, then there is a one-time cost of $3,500 for the first year to put it online. And from that point forward, it is $900 a year of a subscription, basically, to maintain it and allow you to update your policies as you change them out and do everything online. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go on and look at the site, but you can see all the districts that already have it online and how easily accessible it is for folks to take a look at.
And I think the key in doing it is certainly to get us compliant. That's my biggest concern all the time. Are our policies that we currently have in place compliant with what is expected in the Commonwealth? That oftentimes you look at a policy when there's a concern, and sometimes that's too late. So I want to make sure, and I think the school committee would agree, that having those policies reviewed by the people that sort of put them in place across the Commonwealth makes sense. And then the accessibility to families, the accessibility to anyone who wants to take a look at one of our policies. It's a time saver, because oftentimes they call my office and I open up the policy book, which is this thick, and I have to flip through it to find the policy. And then when I find it, I have to make sure it's the updated policy. And Patty also has to go in and make all of those changes and then upload them and change out the book. So this is a much more streamlined process. And from a legal perspective, I think being up to date with policy certainly will do us well. And then the Satchel Pulse.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So Satchel Pulse, I just made, if you pass this down, Jen, each a folder. There's probably an extra one in there for, what do you call it, if somebody wants to save it for her.
For Suzanne.
Yeah, for Suzanne. So the Satchel Pulse program that Lisa spoke about last time, this is the social emotional learning platform assessment. It is a fully online program. It's based on CASEL, the CASEL frameworks. If you're not familiar with CASEL, it's the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning. CASEL's been around since about 1994. They're one of the leading drivers in all we've seen and heard about social emotional learning in the last 10 years or so. So this framework is what most programs today are based off of. So that first part of the packet that says social emotional learning series kind of walks you through each of the 5 CASEL competencies, and you can just Google CASEL and see all these online. They have an interactive tool that you can use to kind of dive deeper into all their different sections. But it gives you an idea of, what is, for example, the first one is self-awareness. What does self-awareness look like in classroom? Tips for how staff and faculty members can promote self-awareness in schools and in classrooms. So it goes through that on each, and the way this program works is all students in K through 12 would take the assessment. No, I apologize. Students in grades 3 through 12 will take the assessment. And at the same time, their teachers will also give a rating for them on each question. So the kids would rate themselves, and the teacher would give their rating as well. And the data would merge the two. In K-2, they don't believe that it's fully understood enough from the K-2 students who are still reading to learn when they're being asked these questions. So it's only the teachers that do the assessments, and anybody else that is working with the kids, be it an adjustment counselor or administrator. And it's like a color coding system that says, let's say Sarah took the assessment today and everything was coming out green. She seems comfortable, she seems happy, she seems well adjusted, doesn't seem like there's anything bothering her at school, kind of thing. And then in December, it's taken 3 times a year, all of a sudden, it's not the same results. So it's just something that then can be brought to the attention of the classroom teacher immediately, just to have a conversation with the child, and or if it's a child who may already have some type of special education services or may already be involved with a counselor or with a special education teacher or a small group intervention, they would have more information. And what it also does is it groups the students based on if the teachers want it to do, a lot of times now we do social emotional learning in the classroom. And a lot of the counselors have devised what it is that the teachers will do, for example, at the elementary level. This will group the kids based on how they scored, so that you can have, kids in a 3rd grade classroom, for example, who are struggling with organization. That's what's coming out, that they're scoring lower in organization. They would have a lesson or an activity around that topic. If somebody is struggling with social awareness, their topic might look a little bit different. There are also little video clips that can be assigned. So if, for example, in the ATC, the 3rd through 5th grade, there is a social emotional learning class. That is one of their specials that they go to every day. So they could be assigned a little video clip based on the results of their assessment to watch. And they're, very kid-oriented, cartoon-type activities with role-playing kind of thing. And then the last things you see with the E, the M, and the H are examples of an elementary, a middle, and a high school lesson plan that goes along with some of the results that come out of the reports. So if the intervention or the objective is recognizing simple different feelings, emotions at an elementary level, these are kind of the guiding questions, these are some of the activities, and these are just suggestions. Nothing is, mandatory to be done or anything like that, but it just gives the teachers and the counselors, a larger toolbox, to pick from when trying to focus on some of the challenges that some of our kids are facing on a daily basis. And like I said, it would be done 3 times a year, so fall, winter, spring. And
I think one of the
Yeah,
key
the gauge-
takeaways from doing it 3 times a year is we have struggled in the past of when does this sadness occur in a child, or when does this frustration occur within a child. I didn't see it in September, and now I'm seeing it, really kind of a lot towards the end of the school year. This allows a teacher in a classroom or a counselor at the upper grade levels to really recognize that change in a student and intervene sooner. And that's really our goal. Providing the teachers with tools and a toolbox is certainly, a plus of the program. And the fact that we can maintain data and that teachers can share that data as children move. You don't, we're trying not to lose sight of students along the way, and you really do need an interactive tool or something that gathers data to help you do that. We are a smaller school district, and we believe that we interact with each other and transition kids to other grade levels in an appropriate manner, and this is just another layer that will help support that. So we're excited to try it and work with it, and our teachers seem to be on board and excited to try it, and we'll be able to report back to you how we think it's working.
Yes. It'll be all grades, K to 12.
And who will be doing the evaluations?
In K to 2, the teachers will do the assessment on each child. In 3 through 12, the students will do the assessment and the teachers will do the assessment.
And
So
what's the length of
self-assessment.
time to do an assessment?
You can do an entire class in about, I think we figured that when we ran the practice, about 20 minutes or so.
And when do you do this? During what period, what time? Right?
Well, when we discussed taking this on board, principals had agreed to give either common planning time or some allotment of time that's already,
Designated for
by these
SEL work.
by the principals for some type of classroom or activity planning work type thing, not their prep time.
Because you're talking about over 5,000 assessments in a year, done by teachers and students, right? It's a lot of time.
It's
taken
done,
away.
the teacher has to do the assessment within a window right after the students. They have to be within a certain window in order to be valid. So it would be time that would be set aside, like I said, blocked off ahead of time before we even knew the assessments. We'd have a schedule out by when they had to be done and what times teachers could use for them.
Just a follow-up on that, with the high school, how do you determine which teacher?
What we had talked about that, and we feel that probably the way we're gonna do it is have the teacher that teaches the first block of the day in the fall, and then maybe, that way, as the kids rotate, it would be a different teacher. So you have a different set of eyes, and different relationships that kids have with, different teachers, so that it's not always the same teacher.
And again, for us, it's a new program, a new platform that will take some tweaking and work with the principals as well, find out what works, what's not working, certainly finding out from the students, where is it successful? If it's a disaster and we're finding it's not successful at one grade level, a higher grade level, or even a lower grade level, we can certainly tweak that. But we feel strongly that it is it's worth the time and it's worth the effort because of the impact of the social emotional well-being of kids over the past few years and what we're seeing in the classroom of our students.
Yeah, we're hoping to, get some feedback from students at the upper levels as well, once we start administering it, to see, whether they feel it, how valid they feel it is, when we can talk to them about their own results kind of thing. And like Superintendent said, just make sure that, the data that we're getting is valid and worth the time that we're using to implement it.
And that was it for the superintendent report, unless there are questions. Superintendent/assistant superintendent report. We have no homeschool applications either this. Oh, like I said, we have homeschool applications that the assistant superintendent is going to speak to you about. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, right now, we have 16 students who have applied or reapplied for homeschooling this year. I am awaiting a phone conversation from the commissioner's office. It has not been returned to me yet, and I sent a follow-up email again today. My original conversation with them was last week. Nobody's gotten back to me. One of the issues that we're running into that I think could become an issue is there are some parents, when they move into Winthrop or when their kids become school age, they don't believe that they have to register their kids in the Winthrop Public Schools if they're going to homeschool. They just send an application in saying, I want to homeschool, here's the criteria, here's the curriculum that's going to be used, which is all what they have to include. But we have some kids who are not registered, who are technically on our homeschool plans, and I'm trying to get Desi to tell us whether they have to register first. What we do normally is, when a family applies for homeschooling, we transfer them out to homeschool. That's exactly what it reads in the record, transfer to homeschool. But for some of these kids, we really have no way of tracking the students. So if the parents have to move to Malden, if they don't respond to my email, I don't know. So we're So I'm just waiting. One person seems like they're fine, they're gonna fill out the paperwork for me and everything, but they don't believe they have to. So I'm trying to just get some documentation from the department that says whether or not they have to register, because I don't really understand why they wouldn't.
So I believe under child find, they
Yeah.
have to. I know
what
it's
I
our
think.
obligation under child find to locate every child that's school age eligible, and if they're not attending Winthrop Public Schools, figure out where they are attending. That's when you see your private school list, you see the vocational school list, obviously is a little different. But the homeschool listing, I see as a little bit different, because it's very hard to track students that go to private Catholic schools or just typical private schools. We get a list from that school of every child who has a Winthrop address who's attending that school, and we're able to cross-reference that. They do not have to register in the Winthrop Public Schools. But the homeschool students, we don't get a list from the parents who are homeschooling to inform us. We may get one or two, but it'd be interesting to see what the Department of Education has
Yeah.
to say, and then we'll follow up on that, and do what we do with Child Find. If people aren't answering us, there are specific steps that we have to take to ensure that that child is okay.
But yeah, as of right now, we have one student in kindergarten, one in first grade, 3 in second grade, 2 in fourth grade, 3 in sixth grade, and 2 in eighth grade, and 1 11th and 1 12th. Yes.
Thanks. Is there no place on the form that asks them to fill out the address and phone number?
We have the address and phone number, but they don't actually do a registration packet where they have to prove residency in the town of Winthrop. So, for example, kids that are entering kindergarten or first grade. Kindergarten's not mandatory, so they don't really have to report to us, but first grade is, and if they didn't go to kindergarten with us, they never established residency in the town. So that means they're not registered anywhere in the state of Massachusetts as a student. So when it comes to child find, like I said, if they were to move to Malden, and they said they were homeschooled, you would think that Malden would reach out to whoever handles the homeschool from that district. But I've had people move to Virginia, and nobody's reached out to me for any information about that child. I did a Zoom with the parents and the child so that I know that that child's alive and well, but they didn't reach out. So that means it's because there's nothing mandatory for them to do. Normally, a parent would have to go in, sign, withdraw, and the letter would come to us, whatever secretary has it, and then that's the only time you formally withdraw a student and you stop tracking them, is when you know they've been enrolled somewhere else. So I'm hoping that they will clarify that for us, and that the parents will be, willing to help work with us to make sure. And I don't think it needs the entire packet. I think it just needs the establishment of residency, much like the reestablishment of residency, something like that. But more to come.
Thank you. Appointments?
We have no appointments tonight. Resignations, we have a couple. Chris Mayotte was the athletic trainer for the school district. We are using Mass General Hospital as a subcontracted agency for our athletic training. One of the primary reasons is liability insurance and continuity of care. So Chris is still actually the athletic trainer for the school district, but he now works for Mass General. It's a similar cost with extra benefits. If Chris is not here on a given day, Mass General will send another athletic trainer in his place, so we're not losing out on having a trainer when we need it. We can also get multiple trainers if we need them, and of course you may be charged extra for that, but we're sticking with the schedule that we have been using. So that position has been vacated by Chris, but picked up by Mass General Hospital. Kate Kelly, a Spanish teacher at the high school, has resigned, and Allison LeBlanc, who is an ESP for us, has also resigned. Retirements, we have none. Postings, some of these are old postings, but still up. School adjustment counselor, which I believe has been filled, but we haven't totally processed that yet. Arthur T. Cummings School. The Spanish teacher at Winthrop Middle School remains posted. Again, a position that we are struggling to get qualified applicants. Phys ed teacher at the middle school is a posting that is a anticipated posting. Substitute teacher substitute kitchen workers across the district, and a long-term substitute for an ESP going out on maternity leave at the middle school. And we have no leaves of absence at this point.
Okay, thank you. On the homeschool applications, we are actually in a position to be able to approve those tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the homeschool applications?
Motion.
Motion by Ms.
Second.
Swope. Second by Mr. Martucci. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Okay, and under new business, we have the approval of the policy review contract, which we discussed earlier. Can I have a motion to approve that, to open the discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve, not to exceed 14,000.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Martucci. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Petrie. Do we have discussion?
Down, Gus, was that number, is that the number that they, I
It should be
couldn't hear
10,500
it?
and 3,500, right?
Well, then it's 900 a year.
After this year, though, not this year, right?
Ten-
This year will be 14,000.
Well, it could be 3 years. It could be 35, 35, 35. Depends how you want to pay it, if you want to pay it.
Well, not to exceed 14,000,
Over a 3-year period or over 1 year?
over whatever that contract says.
What about the 900?
Is that included this year or not?
So that the 10,500 is what it would cost to do the review itself.
Yep.
There's an additional 3,500 to get it posted up on the MASC website. Either one of those two things can happen over a 3-year time frame, but in order for them to commit to the work, I believe, Laurie, you
I
have
think
to
it's just the
pay,
10.5 up.
The
You
10
can break it down over 3 years or pay the 10.5 up
or
front.
pay the 10,500 up front.
Then
So,
when you're ready, you can do the next step for 3,500.
for the other
to put down.
35. So if
So
you,
what's the 30, I thought the 35 was, we don't have to do the 35?
you don't have to do it this
so
year,
eventually.
because it likely, the likelihood of them finishing the policy book and us voting on that and them getting it on the website will not happen until next year. What they want committed is the 10.5 to do the entire project, which
And
might
then
take over
what
3
about-
years.
what about- So, so they won't be posting, the $900 would not apply this year anyways, because it wouldn't be done to post anyways.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so not to exceed 10.5. Amend the motion, please.
The second, second going to amend?
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
I just don't think this is a financially prudent thing to do right now. It's over 140 odd, if you look at it, there's 140 substitute days of teachers' pay. I don't know if this will ever get done. It will be 3 years. The policies will change. We have the ability to go on and look at everybody else's policy. We have a policy that we've created anyway, and it takes time to update it and make sure the policies are all in line, but I just think that this is going to be 14,000 plus another almost 1,000 a year to post something to a website that very few people are going to use.
What are the implications on compliance?
So, and I understand where Mr. Lettieri is coming from in terms of getting it just put up electronically, and that's sort of, for me, it's nice to have it electronically, but do we have to have it electronically? It's not a game changer. It's more about the accuracy of the policies and making sure that we're not missing policies that you would otherwise have up there, and that the MASC does all of that work to ensure that what you have in place and what you need to have in place is the end result of your redoing that entire process. I'd love to say that I could sit there and redo the policy book. I don't know if you've seen it. It's probably 500 to 600 pages in total with the policies. The only way I can tell if policy 1 is current is to go into the MASC website and find a similar policy from another school district to ensure that it is correct. And the funding source for doing this, Laurie can speak a little bit to, is we were directing that funding source to funds in the ESSER 3 grant that are allocated towards compliance and
Communication.
communication with families and things like that. So nothing coming out of the school district's LEA budget. It's still funds for the school, so 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's still a funding source for the school. But the way the grant is written, it's designed for projects such as this or something similar. Not this project exactly. That was not in our eyesight.
Yes, Mr. Martucci?
I'm with Mr. Lettieri, but as far as the money goes, because I don't like to spend money. I hate spending money, but I can't tell you, I've been on this committee since 2004, off and on, and I can't even tell you how many times I've gone to that policy book. It's a nightmare. It is, it's like this thick. There's stuff in it that shouldn't be there. I remember we all got one when I first started. I don't know what happened with that. That's gone. That doesn't happen anymore. And obviously, the policy book that I have home is like, it's so outdated. If we would have even just someone take a teacher or one of the staff aside and say, just work, take them all year, be 50, 60 grand, and you still might not have it right. MASC is 100% qualified to do this. They've done it before. As much as I hate to spend 10 grand, I spend $10. But I think it's something we have to do.
I agree with Mr. Martucci.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lettieri?
No.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. Okay, and under unfinished business, we have the ratification of the cafeteria contract, and that is, I believe, still outstanding.
Still outstanding. They have not gathered together to ratify that contract and vote on it as of yet. I check weekly, and as of tonight, it has not been. I do believe they're planning on doing it. They are not employed during the summer, so that may have been some of the holdup. I expect that to be done within, before the next school committee meeting.
Okay, and do we have public relations?
Public relations, yes, I do. Just a note to families that our schools are scheduling their fall events, and so principals are communicating with parents in their weekly emails and updating their websites. So just an important one that's coming up during the month of September is the curriculum and open house night. So Gorman Fort Banks Curriculum Night is tomorrow at 6:30. The Arthur T. Cummings is September 15th from 6 to 7:30, and this is parents only. Middle school is September 22nd at 6 o'clock, and the high school does not yet have theirs on the calendar, but it will be the second week in October. But the point of the information about the updates, please look at your emails when you're receiving the emails. I know it's annoying because they come every week, but there are good updates in those emails that give you dates of events that you need to have on your calendar. You can check the school's website, and when in doubt or you're hearing that there's something come up, please call the school and ask if there is something up that you're supposed to be attending. But those emails that are coming out weekly should give you every bit of that information. So please, when you see it, click on it and read that. They're very helpful.
I think curriculum night for Fort Banks tomorrow is pre-K and K, and first and second might be Thursday.
You are correct, and you know what? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's written right here, because I got my email. So you are correct, but I can tell you it is definitely in Miss Pearson's email to you, and if you are a pre-K and K parent, you probably got 3 of them yesterday and today, and you have 1 and 2 parents, I'm sure, are getting them this week as well. So pay attention to those emails.
Any ads? Yes.
I just call everyone's attention to Constitution Week, which is next week, 17th through the 23rd. I only mention this because it's uplifting to think that we could actually just talk about the Constitution or something that we could all agree on. Anyway, the 3rd grade class is going to be starting on, what government's all about, so I happen to know a kid there. So we'll spend some of those bookmarks, copies of the Constitution, some posters, and it'll be a fun time. And just on a personal note, most of you probably don't have a father who was born in 1895, but I did.
Wow.
History lessons started at 6 at our dining room table, and he didn't have me till he was 55. So, anyway, history lesson starts at 6, and it ends after dessert, and you're not allowed to leave the table. So I think this is going to be a much better way to introduce the Constitution, since he was born in Lexington, Kentucky in 1895. We had a good time, heated, but fun.
And I can just, to follow up on that, the commissioner's information that came out from the Department of Education today noted that Saturday, September 17th, is Constitution Day / Citizens Day, which commemorates the signing of the U.S. Constitution in 1787 and provides resources for teachers about the Constitution. And that's also available on the Department of Education's website in case there's parents that want to replicate what your dad did and make dinner conversation a little exciting. Thank you, Suzanne.
Yes, Mr. Lettieri.
Thank you. As the superintendent said earlier, we had a very successful opening, and it's still a relatively small school district, but still it's 2,000 kids, and I think it went off really well. A few minor issues that I've heard, but all in all, I'm really proud of the kids and the teachers and the administration for the job that they've done. I would like to see, I would like to see all-school meeting come back. That wasn't here this year, and I'd like to see the school committee attend that all-school meeting, and I think that was something that was done in the past that was really good, and I think that was missed. I wish best of success to all the fall athletes as we begin games this week, and wish again everybody a great school year.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Martucci made the motion. Ms. Petrie, sorry, I have it written down. Ms. Petrie made the second. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. We are adjourned.